a really enjoyable thing to do. So if anybody thinks that is a good idea, please just send me an email, and maybe a group of guys who can play the violin or play some horns on a day when it's warm. Everybody would have to bring their own chairs and refreshment, but it's something to think about in the spring if we're still not meeting in person. So let me know if you're interested.
Larry, do you think, the walk, do you think maybe on, would it help if an email was sent out on Tuesday, the day before the walk? I know we try to do it without sending, making it formal, but if we can send an email, maybe it'll remind people.
Okay, I think Steve actually does that, presents the program on it, but I will remind him in the afternoon, maybe a separate email to the
Yeah,
group.
I'm a separate email for that.
Okay, I'll email him to just do a blast, a separate blast on
a Tuesday afternoon.
Okay.
Bill Munko raised his hand.
Yeah, quick question. Has anyone tried that walk along the water near Radio Shack that was mentioned, I guess, a couple of weeks back?
It was Crab Shell. Carl went there.
Shell,
and
I'm sorry.
He said it was it wasn't that long, and the boardwalk is a bit narrow, not hugely narrow. I've done it, and certainly I think there'll be fewer and fewer people doing that now that the weather's gotten a bit colder. But it's a very easy walk, and but it's kind of short. So
You can walk abreast though, right?
yes, you can. You can probably walk 2 or 3 abreast. But basically, if everybody's wearing masks, you can do it with no problem. So,
Okay.
and as you see from this picture, and I can tell you from our own experience every time I've walked, all of us are wearing masks.
Yeah.
So unless you're, walking away from the group, like my sunglasses get fog when I wear the glass. But if I'm walking, 6 or 8 feet apart from somebody, I usually take the mask off. But,
Most people just most people I see at Cove Island when we were walking usually just pull it off their nose, which is usually enough to help. And then if you get close to someone, you pull it back up.
yeah, that certainly, I find that very acceptable.
Next slide, please.
Okay, Carl, you're up.
Okay, no new memberships. Still encourage them. And do we have any new members? Excuse me, do you have any guests with us today?
Carl, this is Stu. I'd like to introduce Gary Gepner, a friend of mine from Temple Sinai. He's on today to check us out.
Thank you, Stu. Can you give me Gary's email and I can send him some more information on the organization?
No problem.
And Gary, if you say hello, we can all see you, who you are. Your face will come up.
Hi everyone.
Hi, Gary.
Welcome, Gary. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're doing very well on the dues. We've got, not quite half of the active members' dues so far. And I'd like to thank everybody for getting their dues. And we only have 2 more meetings before the end of the year. And it just makes things simpler for everyone if if people pay their dues by that deadline. We're used to chasing people around in January and February, but it's a lot easier if the only people I'm chasing there are the people who have moved, or emails or phone numbers are no longer valid, and I spend my time chasing them down instead of people who are regularly reading emails, receiving emails, and or participating in our meetings. So I encourage you to do so. We have, it's certainly not a requirement, and I'm not encouraging people, but I want to recognize the the 2 life members have already contributed dues for next year, and that one of them, Bill Johnson, made a very generous donation to SMAS, because he said he was thinking about all the charities that do a lot of good in Stamford, and that he thought about us and how much he enjoys participating and what a good job he thinks we do for our membership for the older men in Stamford. So thanks very much to Bill for his contribution.
Bill,
Hi, good morning, everybody. Sorry, anybody have any news, good or bad, to share? We did receive a communication. Carl, do you have it on the slide? Yep, here it is. So Harold Rosenbaum had an upgrade on his pacemaker, and he sent a notice. Anybody have any additions that they'd like to share? Things.
stitches are out, stitches are out, cast is off.
Oh, good for you.
Hand is working.
Hand is working.
Why?
Am I on?
No.
Good.
I think because I didn't sleep so well.
Well, what's happening when you drink? Relax now. You know what? They are thoughts. They are not
I know,
real.
Franco, please. Come.
Okay, any other,
Yeah, I'd
anybody
just
have any
like
news?
to wish John, what we say in Hebrew, refuah shalema, a complete healing. And John, you'll be in my prayers.
I have a little note. Bill Munko here. My wife was in the hospital 2 weeks ago with the weirdest of all things. It wasn't weird, it was scary as hell. But anyway, she had an appendix maybe 20 years ago, and it decided to affect her by blocking off the bottom of her stomach, the scar tissue. Luckily, they found it. She was up there a week. She was pretty sick for a while, but she's home now and on the uptake. But boy, I'll tell you, I'll be glad to see this year go away.
Yeah. I hope she has a speedy recovery too.
Hey, Phil, Ron Rixton here.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know my sister, 88-year-old sister, passed away 2 weeks ago out in Long Island. So, but she lived a full life. She had Alzheimer's, so we know that she's in a better place now. My sister, Joan.
Thank you for sharing.
Anyone else have any news? Good kids, grandkids doing things?
I have one. My granddaughter is finishing up her second year in medical school. She's going to be coming home for Christmas. She's up in Vermont. She'll be coming home for Christmas. And where's her? She's got to do some residency stuff, I guess. Where is it? Either Norwalk or Danbury Hospital. How's that for some luck?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
I'll share something.
Phil, I have some news to
Yeah,
share.
go ahead, Alan.
My children and grandchildren who come up here on weekends to ride their bikes around the neighborhood and annoy you, Phil.
No, they don't annoy me. I love hearing their voices.
Good. They bought a house in Stamford.
Oh,
So they're moving out of Manhattan and they're moving into Stamford on Wedgemere Road, if you know where that is, across from the Italian Center. And I said, you know, a famous person used to live there, Andy Robustelli. Anybody remember Andy Robustelli?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see some head shaking. And my son said, yeah, that's the house we bought. So he had no idea who Andy Robustelli was, but they bought it. Somebody else bought it 10 years ago when Andy passed away. But I cried for an hour, happy tears that my kids are moving close. So
Wonderful.
thank you.
what I was going to say is my kids from the city came up and we went to the Museum and Nature Center. We spent the entire time out of doors and therefore in compliance with all the cautions that are given. And it was a wonderful place just to spend an afternoon. And there were no problems. People were wearing masks and everybody was keeping as far apart as possible. So it's just a suggestion, another place to gather outdoors while the weather holds. I guess that's it for me. Let's move on.
Okay, Ed, are you with us?
I'm here. I'm looking to update our contractor list. It's been a while since it's been done. And just drop me an email at eproloff@outlook.com and I'll start updating the list, and hopefully come January, we can get it out to everybody.
Dick, thank you, Ed. Dick, Harper.
Okay. The splendid, I guess, is Winston Churchill. And I have to read a little further in the book to see who the Vile are going to be, but apparently he had a lot of opposition, which is hard to believe in the middle of how they were being attacked by the Luftwaffe. But anyhow, that's January 20th. It's a little longer book, so we have a little more time. And then another Hampton Sides book for March, exploring the North Pole, and Hampton is a very interesting writer. And I think we've read another book of his. So if anybody has suggestions to add to the list, just drop me an email. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, the $740 that was contributed to the food bank is about half of what we normally would have donated to them in the past. Now the number may be higher because somebody may not have indicated that it was from SMAS and went through their normal fundraising requests. But so again, anything that we can do as members, this is the food bank of Lower Fairfield County as opposed to the Connecticut Food Bank, which is not really active in our area, from what I understand. So if you do, you can send checks directly to the food bank at 461 Glenbrook Road, or you can do it online, and where they ask for a memory of or in honor of, you can just put SMAS donation and we'll get, our group will get the recognition.
Joe, this is Stu. This is Stu. I've contacted them and I asked them to update the donation number because I know for absolute certainty that is way more than 740 because I know what I've donated, which has only taken us over $1,000. So she's going to get back to me hopefully this week with a better number.
All right, so our next slide will hopefully, show an updated number. Thank you, Stu.
Okay.
Go ahead while you're on.
Okay. Those of you, I'm sure a lot of the members of SMAS also belong to the Stamford Senior Center. So it seems like every couple of weeks they have this thing called Grab and Go for members. So for next week, 12 to 1, as you can see, 1:30, they're having the Grab and Go, where it'll be what they're calling a soup cook-off, whatever they're calling it. So it's fun, and you get to see some people we wouldn't normally see at the senior center. So if those of you who are members, got to sign up, as it says below there, and just drive by and pick up your stuff and go home and eat it. That's it.
Say, Stu, this is Carl. What's the Over 60 Club? I haven't heard about that before.
The Over 60 Club. I don't know. I don't know. You made the slide. Did I say that?
Yeah, that was in the information you sent to me.
I'll find out.
No, I'm sorry. Maybe I copied it off the website.
I'll
But
check
this
with
is
Chris.
the announcement on the website for the grab and go. Okay, we'll look. I'll look it up.
Well, where's my, before I can raise my hand, by the time I get done. Yeah.
Lloyd?
Yeah, the over 60 club. I remember looking into it years ago, maybe 5 years ago. Is there a group of senior citizens that used to be on Summer Street? And they were not part of Jewish Family Services, but I think their offices was right next to them. So that's another senior organization that I really never participated in, but I would assume they're still around by judging that they mentioned it. Yeah.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Right.
Right, moving on.
Can I just talk? Can I just talk?
Bring...
Can I tell you what the 60 Club meets at St. John's Church, downtown Stamford, every week? I don't know much about it, but they're still active, and they still meet at St. John's Church. That's all I know about them.
All right, if anybody wants any items for discussion, please raise your hand on the, so we can recognize you.
Okay.
Harry.
Yeah, I forgot to mention during the fellowship, I don't know if any of you knew the gentleman, he grew up in Stamford, Leon Zabrowski. He passed away from COVID in Jacksonville, Florida this past week. Leon and his two brothers owned a banana company that delivered bananas all over the place. He hasn't lived in Stamford for about 20 years, but his brother Stan and Raymond, Stan passed away about 5 years ago. Leon's father-in-law is a former mayor of Stamford, Tom Mayers. So Leon was a dear friend. You haven't seen him, but my wife speaks to his wife all the time. So just want to mention it. I don't know if anybody knew Leon. Leon was 81 years old.
Thanks, Larry. Brian?
Yeah, I have a question. With all the leaf pickup going on the side of the road, where does the town actually take all those leaves? Does anybody know?
I believe to the Schofield town, that's where they used to take them. And you used to be able to go there and get mulch. But I believe seeing the trucks and where they go, it is still the place where they drop it off.
Larry, they do, the trucks are up there every day, dozens and dozens of them. They pile it up and then they have tractor trailers hauling the leaves out. So the dump trucks from the city go up to Schofield town, and then they have the big tractor trailers, 18-wheelers, take them somewhere else.
Oh.
That's right. I had seen the publicity some couple, 3 years ago where they haul the leaves upstate, and it may be to an area where they grow sod for the lawns. So the leaves are used in some way upstate.
I thank you all.
Bill Munko?
Yeah, I live in Springdale, and they did my street yesterday, and they did a fine job, I gotta say.
Yeah, and they are shorthanded.
I noticed that, much smaller crew than they had last year.
Yeah, so it's gonna take a little longer. Ira?
Several items for the sake of accuracy. First of all, the name of the guest. I got the first name, Gary. What was the last name?
Gary Gepner, Gepner.
And whose guest was that?
Stu.
Okay, thank you. Next, somebody under fellowships, I missed the name of the person who reported on his wife. Who was that? Returning from the hospital, stomach.
Oh, that was me, Bill Munko.
I thought it was Bill from The Voice, but I wanted
Yeah,
to confirm that.
She's doing fine though, really fine.
Okay. And Larry, Leon, who died, I remember reading the obituary. I don't remember the last name.
Zabrowski.
How do you spell it?
You're muted, Larry.
Zebrowski, I believe.
Yep.
Zeprowski?
Zebrowski.
SKI.
Wait a minute. Give me the first three letters again.
Z like in zebra, E like in Edward, B like in boy.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, next slide. We got a couple of minutes to lighten up the meeting. Anybody got anything? Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
Am I on? Yeah, I'm on. Yeah, number one, I had a COVID test and I'm negative. That was very good. And I spoke to my doctor who said, you know, Alan, you don't even realize it anymore, but you are 75 years old and you should really cut out about half of your sex life. I said, which half should I cut out? The thinking about it or the talking about it?
Very good. Joe Jaquinto.
Talking about it. Oh, I think that's a riot.
Brian McDermott.
All right. A nurse goes into the psychiatrist's office and says, "Doctor, there's a man in the waiting room that thinks he's invisible." And the doctor says, "Tell him I can't see him."
Okay. I don't know, Carl or Joe, or Stu or Joe, let me handle the removing and everything else. You guys were co-hosts for the discussion part. Joe Jaquinto. Unmute yourself, Joe.
Got it?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. This guy from Brooklyn goes out to the Northwest looking for a job as a lumberjack. So he goes and talks to the foreman, and the foreman says, "Do you have any experience?" He said, "I got plenty of experience. I worked for 5 years on the Sahara forest, on the Sahara desert." He said, "You mean the Sahara?" "I worked for 5 years on the Sahara desert." "No, I'm sorry. Worked for 5 years at the Sahara forest." He says, "You mean the Sahara desert?" He says, "Now."
Okay.